Okay, yes, hello, it's on, and it's recording, which is not what it was doing when I just did an entire episode. So get ready for an episode of MPV Trails with substandard audio beginning in 3, 2, 1. Hello, yes, testing. Hello, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while, a little bit longer than usual, and I apologize for that, but interesting today we're going to go ahead and start talking about the Philippines, which will give me an avenue of things to get into. Maybe go back and forth a little bit sometimes. So yeah, we were there. We were there a lot and did a lot. So I'm going to start telling some stories, and here we go.
Somebody help! I'm stuck in quicksand!
You broke it!
I didn't break it, you broke it!
We need to make this real. We need people to believe this.
Why did you do this? Not a good idea.
You want to see me get messier?
Is there a friendly park ranger somewhere? Hello?
Shit, what did we get ourselves into? This is so ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, I went and looked at that the video there, the intro video, and yeah, there's not even one shot from the Philippines, and not even in that montage of pictures at the end. And that's certainly not a complaint. I really still enjoy watching that. It does get me pumped up. But maybe sometime I'll commission another one or have one put together featuring some of the stuff from Muddy Pernay's, Soap Pernay's Tropical Shots Media, which is a company that I started up. My ex-wife, my first wife, back in 2000, late 2006, very early 2007. Basically, there was something in the Philippines that she wanted, and I thought, well, okay, yeah, you can have that, but can I shoot there? And the answer was yes, and so we went about plotting and planning, going there and shooting. Of course, there's all these little subtexts and stories and so on about how we actually managed to do that, but I'll keep this just focused on the fact that, yeah, we went there, we got there, we looked around, we found some models, we shot some videos, and then we'll revisit some of the locations. I mean, because that was always a huge thing, and so well, anyway, so just start putting up some pictures here. And so this is Nicole. One of the things that I wanted to do with Tropical Shots Media was have a more generic glamour type thing. It wasn't like I wanted to go teach myself to be a glamour photographer, although it's really not hard if you're motivated to take nice pictures of nice ladies. And here's Ami. Actually, in one of the first places that we managed to shoot, well, not the very first, but one of the first that I found or I discovered, and that was quite a hike down into this. It didn't really have the appearance here in this photograph, but it was quite a slope from the road that was kind of running along a ridge up there in the Clark Reservation. So, and there'll be some history lessons and some geography lessons and so on, because a lot of the shooting that we did near where we lived, which was outside of Angeles, a neighborhood called Balibago, which anybody that was familiar with Clark Air Base when it was Clark back in the day, that was Fields Avenue and where all the fun was. But we were just south of Balibago in another little neighborhood. So we weren't really part of that, like where all the bar girls kind of lived. But we always were driving through it almost to get to just about anywhere we wanted to go, especially if we wanted to get on Clark. Anyways, picture of Sandra. This picture I got some mileage out of. I used it for promoting this and that. I just yeah, really kind of caught her looking pretty nice there. And then of course, so this was, you know, the Philippines, and so a lot of, I don't know, I wouldn't say effort, but you know, I was good at photographing everything. I always like to like kind of record things, and so the sight and sounds of the Philippines, most of the sights, of course, but there's a couple of jeepneys. You don't see too many of those anymore. I imagine there will be many jeepney museums. I think there's even one or two in the United States, believe it or not. But you know, that was your basic, well, your most essential mode of public transportation were trikes, and then jeepneys, and then buses, and then so on. But they were ubiquitous, just everywhere, and noisy, and kind of dirty, depending on how well tuned they were or not. But they were eventually replaced with more up-to-date jeepneys. I can't remember what they call them, and I don't really have any pictures handy. But there's still, I'm sure there's still jeepneys running around, perhaps further out into the country, into the provinces and so on, in the smaller towns. You'll see jeepneys running up and down. So, you know, got quite a few pictures of those, and then, well, here's a trike. Probably pretty well loaded, as you can imagine. There's probably, if they're all squirrel girls, then there's probably at least 4 inside, and then a couple on the back seat. And yeah, it's just that picture kind of speaks for itself. And then I don't know if you remember in the Bourne Legacy movie, where he literally runs across a bundle of cables. And that was, you know, in Manila. This was Angeles City. But yeah, I don't know if they've ever cleaned this stuff up. Haven't been there, not in Angeles actually, very much. Last time I was in the Philippines was very early 2017, and that wasn't for shooting. Our shooting was actually in 2 sections. We were there in 2007, 2008, 2009. The crew kept going there for a little bit, but you know, the recession that we were having here in the United States had really settled in by that time. Took a break, bought Camp MPV, got Camp MPV running, and then if you just think about the Januaries, we were there 2012, 13, 14, and 15. So we put together 4 more seasons, and then that was the end of that. You know. So yeah, so we had this house, and this was the very beginning of you know, my room, a bedroom basically, and I ended up spending 3 years of my life in the Philippines altogether, between all the different trips, and you know, so, but most of that was just spent in a room with an air conditioner, and he does, and actually this room evolved a bit. Here it is, essentially after I got some curtains up and bought a table, put my computer on it, and got a little bit more settled in. But yeah, the place is hot, you know, what can you say, and noisy. And sometimes the only place you want to be as a white guy is in a dark air-conditioned room, because you're isolated from the heat, and just the humanity of, you know, there's just people everywhere, it seems like, and it's a very noisy place. You know, just starting with the roosters and the screaming kids and the trikes, and you know, even birds or whatever. But and then videoke in the neighborhoods at night, and barking dogs, and more roosters, and more kids, and more dogs, and it just goes on, and trikes, and yeah, it's a very noisy place. But it's nothing to them. I mean, that's what they're used to. But I imagine, you know, some people probably have issues with that. I only had issues with it because, you know, in production, you know, you don't want a bunch of background noise, and so, you know, we were constantly battling that. So, anyway, so I got there. My ex-wife had been there a couple of times that year already. I arrived in the fall, and you know, so we needed locations. Now the models, you know, wasn't really that big of a deal. We had a person that was doing that for us, and she was doing a pretty good job. I'll get into that a little bit later in terms of, you know, the flavor of the models, in terms of their looks, and what you know, what Filipinos hold up as beauty is not necessarily what white guys do, and so that turned into not of a conundrum, but it took us a while to work through that a little bit. But basically, what white guys generally, and myself included, we tend to go for what they call black beauties, and the dark skin is not valued in the Philippines, unfortunately. So, but anyway, so we would go out looking for places to shoot, and this is an example of just hiking through, looking at this and that. Mostly saying no, because of various issues, a lot of them including, privacy and/or security, which are separate but related. And the first place we actually shot, that I actually picked up a camera and really started going, was an area called Guagua, and the same person that was helping us get the ladies had a friend down there. His name was Oscar. And he had, this is a combination of fish farms and rice farming. And I don't know, this actually looks like a fish pond, but it might have been. But we started shooting in a rice paddy. So here's Ami. It's probably one of the first actual production pictures that I ever took in the Philippines. And hers here really in that same outfit, doing a scene called Where's My Ring? And so she was plowing around in the rice looking for a wedding ring that her husband's mistress had gotten from her and thrown in the rice paddy. And where's my ring? I remember somebody was making fun of her accent early on, where's my ring, you betch, B-E-T-C-H, which just seems kind of funny now, but Ami was nice. And then the other two ladies were there. I can't remember the third, but that's Andrea there in the center of the frame. And so we shot this scene immediately following the Where's My Ring. And Oscar and one of the other guys just went ahead and started replanting all the little rice stalks. Very expertly, I should say, but they were very conscientious of the fact that it wasn't their rice paddy, it was like, somebody they knew. And so they put all the little rice stalks back, which was kind of cool. And we finished it off with I knew we were going to do wet look, the soaked panais, and I really probably should have talked a little bit about what I thought I was going to end up doing with different websites and different things, and I'll get into that eventually. But and so there's Andrea on the left and Ami on the right. And there was just like this little pump house thing that they were using to irrigate the fields, and it turned out to be a pretty handy way to get cleaned up. And this is what we look like out there. There wasn't a house or a structure or anything, and so we had gone to the hardware store and got a little canopy, which you can see the legs for and the shadow being cast. But it was just the Philippines. In their seasons are different from ours. Summer there is April and May are just incredible. You just by March you can feel it coming. The very first time I went to the Philippines was in 1990, and it was over some immigration stuff. We had business at the U.S. Embassy in Manila, and my wife hadn't seen her family for a while. And we landed there in April, late April, early May, just in the teeth of their summer, and it was incredibly hot, very impressive. But so we were shooting mostly. Well, we started actually. This would have been in November of '07. So it was just the rainy season was done. The coolest time of the year was really kind of coming upon it, but. You're still talking about high 80s, low 90s daytime high, and also you're in the tropics, so the sun, it just comes straight up, goes right over the top of your head and straight down on the other side. So folks living in northern latitudes would know about like the angles and dangles that the sun takes, but not so much down there. I think we were about 17 degrees latitude maybe. So very much the tropics, and so then we continued to look for more locations. The first two trips was really all about half of the effort, at least in terms of energy, and time, it seems like, went into looking for locations. But here's another spot that we found, and just a quick spot of a young Jane. Now this area here, which was the land north of Clark Air Base, and an extensive amount of land. I've never actually seen it. I probably saw a map one time where they called the reservation, which was land that was controlled by, it was part of the air base, so it was, kind of controlled by the U.S. government. In fact, just off to the right of this picture, if you went across the road and up a slope, there was a ridge that ran down next to this river, and they actually had housing for, it was like R&R housing for officers at the Air Force. And the weird thing is, and this is one of these little side stories, is they're considered haunted, and so nobody's actually ever taken them over. They're just up there, kind of overgrown along this ridge road. I think we were kind of along there one time, and I might have got a picture or two. I don't know. I don't want to really try to spend time looking for them. But anyways, there is some really good World War II history that has to do with the river that runs through the valley that's behind her there. And I'll get into that in a future episode. But we also went to the south, actually beyond Guagua, to there was a town called, I think they renamed it. It used to be called Sasmone, but it was spelled S-E-X Moan. But it was where the president, Arroyo, whatever, she was from there, and so it brought attention to Sexmone or Sasmone, and so they respelled it now. But the Pampanga River went through there, and so we took these river boats all the way down to the delta of the Pampanga River. That's Manila Bay out there in the background, if you ever want to look at a map. But that was quite an adventure, and we actually got on that river twice. I think this was the second time we went further. And so we'll get into that. I think each location itself, or each kind of area of stuff that we tried or went to, could be a separate episode. It wouldn't be so bad. And my voice is starting to go. Anyways, and here's Kathy again. I was kind of going for the glamour, combination glamour and wet and messy shooting, and so I was using actually a full frame camera, full-size frame camera, 5D, the original 5D Canon made, to get these glamour shots. And then we were using Rebels. I had two Rebels that we were using for the action stuff. And some of this stuff, it turned out kind of well. This is Ami again, and then Angel. This was this location here. I'll also talk about near the location where Jane was, but on the other side of a ridge, and it's this place called Top Top. And and there was it was a kind of combination rice farm, and it was mostly a rice farm. This was at the mango plantation, where we did a lot of shooting, and the story behind that location is not very exotic or glamorous, but it was a significant location for us. Picture of Nikki. This was in an open area. Actually, Mount Arayat. If the background was not overexposed, you would see Mount Arayat there in the background. The mango plantation was kind of like off in another direction yet, and so there was some interesting geography going on there. Picture of Andrea there. These mango trees, especially the ones that would go left and right, up and down, some of them were over 100 years old, and then they would spray them a couple times a year to induce the flowering of the mango fruit. And it was kind of cool. Sometimes they wouldn't get it all, and then it would hit the ground, and it was like overly ripe. And if you think a banana peel is slippery, let me tell you about a ripe mango that is camouflaged in the mango leaves. And I never took a fall over one, but it was one of the little hazards that we had. And this was actually part of an action scene. But if you ever wanted to get a crush on May, there's an early look at her that kind of remarkable in its own way. And kind of, if there was any curiosity about whether we had looky-loos, that once in a while, and this was as bad as it ever got, to the point where I went over and tried to shame them by taking a picture, and they didn't give a shit about it. They just wanted to see what was going on. But this was at the mango plantation, you know, kind of that barbed wire they were at was the property line, or at least the area of influence that the owner did. And I won't call him out by name. He was a good guy, older guy, a friend of my father-in-law, who was, no, he had passed by that time. But that's how we ended up there at the mango plantation, and they ended up getting shooed away. And so at the end of the first trip, you know, we had a get-together. Actually, I was looking at the folders, and after this this kind of lunch that we had one more day of shooting right after that. But this was the day that was convenient for to get as many people together as we could to kind of celebrate the end of our first trip. And so there I am, and there's along the bottom there, there's May and Andrea, and then you skip over and there's Jane to my left, and then Nikki, and not too many people in the back row kind of stood the test of time, but directly behind me, Sandra, Nicole, and Kathy. All right, so so I mean, you know, that's pretty good, because let's see, May was there till the very end, so was Jane, and Nicole. Sandra also had some pretty good legs, as well as Kathy, but you know, and they jumped the span from, you know, our first 3 kind of main trips that we made, and then there was the break for the recession, and then coming back in 2012. So but it was everything that you can imagine. I mean, in terms of the adventure part of it. You know, we got out, but you just have to imagine, you know, you're a white guy in the Philippines, yeah, you're going to spend a lot of time indoors. It's just the way it is. But nice people, nice country, and not sorry for a minute that we went ahead and did what we did, and I tried to get done what I did, and we came back with some really good work at the end of the day. So hope you enjoyed all that. Thanks for joining, and we've got July 24th coming up. I think it's the anniversary of the first real good shoot that we had back in '98. So hopefully this will get things going again, and I'll hit some of the dates and talk specifically about what was going on 25 years ago. All right, so take care. Thanks.